Hello, it is the Go Birds podcast presented by the Bet Parks Sportsbook and Casino app. You love to play, you play to win. You bet Parks, Eliot. It was not pretty. People certainly, it was to quote you, a true roller coaster of emotions game.
It's all sports are, man. It's all
look,
sports
6-2. I think the main takeaway is 6-2. Yeah. But honestly, I'm still kind of catching my breath. The other main takeaway, Nakobe Dean,
your boy,
hero. Honestly, just in general, one of the better linebacker games I remember in recent memory as an Eagle. How you feeling? This is definitely one of those like take a deep breath and there's some stuff to be mad at, some stuff to be happy about, but
so
6-2.
I feel like people are going to think I'm just doing this to be a contrarian, but like, I'm really not feeling the same way everybody else is with this. Like,
as in Nick was bad? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, look, we'll talk about the Nick thing, but even if you remove that, right? If you take away the Saquon play, which I know you can't do this, but the play that was clearly ruled incorrectly, that should not have been a
disastrous call. Honestly, one of the worst replay call since the Devontae play in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was. Well, and like, it reminded me of too, the play against Dallas, which is ironic. They're going there next week where there's no clear recovery. Remember?
Yes, the Dallas Goedert one for sure.
It was clearly.
Was that the Goedert one, or there was another Goedert play in that other one? There was the Goedert play, the offensive pass interference. Whatever. Anyway.
But like, if you take away that Saquon fumble, that shouldn't have counted. They win this game 28-15. They mostly dominated the entire game. They were up big at halftime. They were definitely sloppy in the second half. No question about it. But like, the offense didn't really convert in lots of places they normally convert. They had, 2 or 3 tush pushes that failed. They missed on 2 4th downs, one of which was a 4th and 1 that I didn't like the play call on. Excuse me, I'm sorry. That I didn't like the play call on. Like, I don't think that the Jaguars did anything in this game besides that final drive, which was nerve-wracking, obviously, with the score. But the defense dominated them most of the game. They had 95 yards in the third quarter. The offense scored in the first quarter. Look, we'll get into more of the specifics, but I don't walk away from this feeling like this was a disaster of a win, or it's like nothing like the Browns game. Like I remember that one where I understood people being upset about that. I thought this was a mostly dominating performance where a few things didn't go their way, and as a result, it was closer, and they definitely almost blew it. But I don't know. I didn't come away with concerned about much from that game, other than the AJ injury, which we don't know much about.
Yeah, well, I think the AJ injury is definitely the biggest concern, and you can point to AJ not being on the field as a potential issue for some of the offensive struggles as the game went on a little bit here and there. Outside of that great drive and the all-time catch by Devontae Smith, really one of the great Eagles catches I've ever seen in my lifetime. But look, I'm not quite where you are. I definitely agree with the general premise that, they won the game and they were dominant for the most of it. There are some things to be annoyed at. I do think Nick had a really bad, uneven game. It just, it felt like a lot of these decisions were look, I didn't hate all of the 4th down decisions. It was just the kicking the field goal there at the end was insane to me. Like, he already did that. He already did that in the game.
Kicking it on 4th and 4.
Yes, like that. Yeah, so honestly, I would have rather they went for it there. Like, either go for it or honestly, I'm not kidding. I think punting there is probably better than kicking. Trying to draw them off sides, taking a 5-yard penalty and punting is probably better than trying to kick the field goal there. And they got lucky with it. But whatever. I probably would have gone for it. Regardless, I thought the field goal there was just a bad decision. And I thought just in general, a lot of his decisions, a lot of the play calling, it just felt uneven. I hated the Saquon call on 3rd and whatever it was, the run there. I thought it was not a great game from a coaching perspective. I think, to your point, the Eagles were the better team. It was, as we had a caller mention on the show, Nathan maybe from downtown, that it was a classic trap game situation. Yeah. We didn't really pay it a lot of attention, but they do have Dallas next week, a Thursday night game against Washington. The Jags are, not just not a good team, but an unexciting team. It's kind of hard to get up for the Jags coming into your building, but it did. I think look, they were up 22-0. They were dominating the game, and to your point, I think the Saquon play kind of turning it mean, that was just an all-time
that's
horrible
not on
call.
anybody. It's not on the defense. It's not on the offense.
I can't believe they didn't overturn. I can't believe they didn't overturn it. But yeah, so like I'm kind of more with you than not. But I do think there are things you can point to with Nick, and also you look, if we're going to talk about this team being a championship type team, and you know they're building towards that, and stacking wins is an important part of that. But also being able to put your foot on a team's throat is part of that too. If they did what they did today and let a team hang around against I don't know, obviously like the Lions, but like, team, you know, right, any sort of playoff type caliber team, like they could be in trouble. So I'm with you for the most part. I think that I am more on the, hey, it was a win and they're 6-2 and big week and a half coming up. But I just thought it didn't feel like a great win. You know what I mean?
So I'll say this too, from being here. So this is probably a perspective I can offer being in the stadium. I was shocked how tense it got so quickly. I mean, like right after that, so there was the fumble from Saquon, which was the bad call, so they score. And then I think the Eagles punted or didn't do anything on the next possession. Like right away, people are yelling like at Nick from where I was at in the press box, like the fans in front of me. Like they're yelling about Nick after every time he goes for the 2, or every time he goes for a 4th, it's like audible groan before the players take the field. I think Eagles fans, as we have talked about at length during our time doing this pod, are the best fans. Like I get that, but I thought today, like I got my answer as to whether this or at least these 60,000 people believed in the Eagles. Like it was unnecessarily tense, in my opinion. Like the crowd, in my opinion, was a detriment today to this game, because they made it so much more tense than it had to be. Like I found out that these fans in the crowd still don't believe in the Eagles, because if you look at it today, like what did Nick really do that was that bad? He went for it for the 2-point conversions from the 1-yard line, right? So like he's been doing that.
I didn't have a problem with that, for what it's worth.
So there's those 2 where he goes for it and they don't get it, but like you're tush pushing from the 1. Like they should make most of those, right? At the end, when he went for 2, when it was 28 to I guess 23 or whatever it would. No, 28.
I didn't have it would have made it 14. I didn't have a problem with that either.
For that one too, right?
Yeah, so the 2 points weren't my issue. It was more like the 4th down they didn't get in the whatever it was, late 3rd, early 4th, and the 3rd down call prior to that 4th with the Saquon run on like 3rd and 6.
Well, here's the other thing.
And that's a play call, so that's on Kellen. And then also I just thought I thought at the end there the decision to kick the field goal was the worst of all of them.
So that's funny. I thought of all the decision we would talk about, that would be the one we would talk about least. Like I would have maybe gone for it, but I definitely would not have punted the ball there. Like, and I think
not saying I probably would have gone for it, but I hated that was the one where they did the play call, the 3rd and 6 right before. That was the Saquon one. Like I just hated the whole sequencing there. I hated everything about it, but.
So real quick on Saquon, and this is, look, there's a lot of positive with Saquon to talk about.
Saquon
obviously.
Was amazing, outside of the fumble that wasn't a fumble or whatever.
Well, but we need to point out, like at the end of that game when the Eagles are trying to kill clock, he goes down in bounds way short of the 1st down.
It was a bad move. They talked about in the broadcast, and they were right. I had the same thought. He should have gone. I get what he was trying to do. He should have gone for the 1st down there.
Yeah, like, and this has been the 2nd or 3rd time this year. It was when they lost to Atlanta, or no? Yeah,
he had the drop against Atlanta.
Well, he had the drop against Atlanta, but then maybe it was Cleveland where he had to run, he got the ball with no one within 5 yards of him, and he runs out of bounds 6 inches short of the 1st down. Saquon has to be better at realizing where he is out on the field. Now, look, outside of that, he was obviously outstanding. I joked
magical.
I joked with Tucker at the during the halftime pod, when David Gettleman got made fun of for saying Saquon's touched by the hands of gods, he's not wrong. Like
again, you know that I said when he was a rookie, he's the best running, just pure talent, ability, skill wise, best running back I've ever seen in my life.
He's unbelievable.
And it's crazy to think we saw, obviously the Devontae one we mentioned, and him, we legitimately saw 2 of the all-time most athletic, impressive, amazing, whatever you want to say, Eagles plays you'll ever see in your life in the same game today.
Well, and I think, but that's an important something to consider when we're talking about Nick's decisions on 4th down. This team has special talent that makes special plays. And I thought Jalen, I'll be curious on the rewatch to feel how I thought he played. Live, I think there was probably 4 or 5 plays that he would want back where it was poor throws or a poor decision. But I thought he made some good plays today. He made some good plays with his
I thought Jalen was fine.
legs. Yeah.
Yeah.
I gave him a B. Like
the one almost interception was really the only bad decision he made where they made it seem
down. I think it was a fourth down play.
Well, the one that hit the ground, I don't think it was fourth. I think it was
no, you're right.
Yeah. That was a bad throw and bad decision. But for the most part, I thought, and Jalen also, I thought, had some truly special throws today. Like the Saquon touchdown was really good. And just in general, throwing the ball to Saquon, like the best we've ever seen Jalen do that. And then obviously I thought that, obviously the throw where Devontae made the catch was obviously more impressive, but still a great throw. I actually thought it was like throwing it away in the moment. It was so
me too. Watching it live, it was so high.
I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then the throw on third down or fourth down, whatever it was, to Smith. I
think it was 3rd and 6.
To Devon third day. That was a great throw, fitting it into a tight zone.
Yep,
and he had a few others throughout where I just thought he put it in some really nice spots. So, I don't think Jalen was perfect today, but
no, I think he was good, though.
And he was awesome with his legs. Awesome with some big time runs. So I'm with you. I think Jalen was pretty good today.
So
I don't have an issue with Jalen.
I thought Saquon was awesome. I thought Devontae was awesome. I thought Jalen was mostly awesome. The defense, which we'll talk about in a minute, was like unbelievable for most of the
until the very end. Yeah, but for the most part, I mean, the linebackers, like we said, were tremendous. The secondary, except for some, miscues at the end, but like big plays early, like Coop had some huge tackles, Reed that big tackle, like, they made some plays in the D line that, not everyone, but, Sweat, I thought had a great game. Guys got home a bit. So, and obviously, by the way, I can't believe we've gone halfway through the pod, our post-game pod here, 11 minutes in, and not said first quarter points.
Yeah, for real.
How about it? But yeah, I think the defense, like it wasn't, I think you have to ding them for how it looked at the end and letting it be so close, but they also came up with big turnovers, and that N'Kobe play, man, like
was unbelievable.
What a play, man. What a play.
Like watching it live.
It looked like a cornerback. It was like, what
exactly,
whoa.
Yeah. Or Quinion maybe, because I saw the 7 at first when he started to get up, but no, I mean the defense, like again, the Jaguars had like 95 yards midway through the third quarter. Like
I think it was like they said on the broadcast, it was like the first time they got in Eagles territory was like at the end of the third or fourth. Yeah,
they won the turnover battle 3-0. I really look at this game and feel like there's 4 or 5 plays that made it closer than it should have been. But outside of that, to your point about it being a trap game, and I forget what caller you said made the point.
I think it was Nathan Downtown. I'm not 100% sure, but that's what I think.
They definitely didn't come out flat. For sure. Like they came out.
No, they just got flat as it went on. We get the first quarter points, and then it's like, oh, what do you want? You want first quarter points or points later?
Dude, should I go down to the presser and be like, Nick, why haven't you scored a fourth quarter? But so being here too, to me, the vibe was this game is over. Like that was the feeling I felt.
Well, we all felt that, I think.
Yeah, I think it got flat, and then when they had,
and I think that's partially why people are so mad because they were like, this shouldn't have been close. When I agree with you. If you just look at the vast majority of the game, the Eagles dominated,
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, look.
I don't think Nick was horrible, by the way. I'm not like, I don't think it was like,
good. I thought
Nick was just like had some questionable decisions, and I don't think was as in control of the game as I usually feel like he is. And look, I think that when a team almost collapses like that at the end, and some players make some super athletic, amazing plays to save the day, you still have to ding the coach for the potential of a 22-0 blown loss, at least a little bit in watching it. But to your point again, I think we're way more on the same page than not, in that we are both, far more staunchly on I'm looking much more at the positives than the negative. But I think I more than you understand more why people are upset with it than you.
All right, so let me use this example. So Doug Pederson in the fourth quarter here, it was 4th and 4. I think they were right around the 50-yard line. He punts the ball away, right? Like, should have gone for that. Last week, Zach Taylor, 4th and 1 at the 9-yard line. Kicks a field goal. Bengals go up 10-0 instead of 7-0. Instead of 14-0. Week before against the Giants, early on in the game, Dable punts it from from the Eagles 40-yard line, right? I want a coach that is going to be aggressive, especially when you have this type of talent. Like, when Saquon's playing this way, when Devontae's playing this way, when Jalen is making plays, I will take my chances on 2 tush pushes from the 1 and 2 fourth downs that are less than 3 yards. And I think the Eagles will convert the majority of those. I understand the frustration as the game goes on and you're missing these ones, that it's like, I can't believe you're doing it again. But I'm not so sure how much the previous decisions should play in. I understand they should to an extent. Like, you have to read how your team's playing. But if they run a tush push from the 1 10 times, I think they're going to get it 9 out of 10 times, right? Like, I think that the lack of execution on the tush push, like, that's not Nick. Like, calling a tush push from the 1 on a 2-point conversion, like, that's an easy decision. Like, that's what they should be doing. I'm sure, we talk so much about like, what does Jeffrey Lurie think about these calls? I'm sure Lurie agreed with almost all the calls that he made today. So I just look at this game as weird opponent, like, and they mostly dominated. They got their 4th win in a row. I don't think there was much concerning from Jalen. Again, I want to rewatch it. I thought there were a few throws he missed, but outside of 2 throws today, he only put the ball in. He didn't put the ball in harm's way once again. This is now the longest he's gone in his career. 5 straight games without an interception. No big deal to me. Training camp stats making a comeback, but like, I just think there's far more positive from this. It wasn't like an outstanding performance, but it was closer to an outstanding performance than a concerning performance. Like, the Browns win, when we did the postgame pod, me and you were both like, man, that was not fun. Like, that was right. I don't think this is anywhere close to that. Yeah, they didn't win by 20 points, but they almost did if the game is officiated correctly, and that Saquon thing is, like, they almost did. So I leave this stadium. I don't think they got better. Like, my thing I've been saying each week is they got better from the bye week to the Browns, to the Jets. Like, I don't think this was a step forward, but I don't think it was a step backwards.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it was a step backwards. I'm not, like, again, I just think you're going a little far with, like, awesome win, no problem, nothing to see here. Like, I think there were concerning things with the way that it played out, and the fact that we want to see this team again win the Super Bowl and, like, build themselves into a team that is, and it felt like after the Bengals game, the Giants game, that this was a team that could put their foot on a team's throat and pull away and crush them. And again,
it was disappointing they didn't run the clock out with 4 minutes.
So that's all I'm saying. There were some mistakes, some miscues that are just, and again, I don't think Sirianni was as flawless in the game as you were. I really do think it was a mediocre game from Sirianni at best for me. But look, again, I don't think it was as bad as others, but ultimately, again, I do focus on the fact that it was when I thought, there were a lot of things to point to. Let's quickly, before you go, because I know you got to go in a sec, but, like, let's talk about the thing we said at the beginning, which is actually really in reality, other than the actual adding it to the record, the technical importance of the win. Mm-hmm. AJ, have you heard anything? What do you know about the injury? Is there anything that you can add before, Nick speaks and all that?
So I would just say definitely check out the daily pod tomorrow, because this is a time where me doing the pod right afterwards, like, I haven't been downstairs. I haven't heard anything. I haven't had a chance to see.
Not that Nick's going to really tell us anything
but
anyway,
honestly,
right?
I'll be curious to see if AJ's in the locker room, if he's walking around. Not that that's always an end all be all, but I'd be curious to see that. But yeah, I mean, look, I don't think it's a coincidence that this game got ugly, or at least, like, perceived as ugly, basically the minute AJ left the game. Right? I mean, like, they were dominating that game. They scored, what was it? I think 16 points in the first half, I'm not mistaken. And the offense definitely sputtered a little bit once AJ left. So the good news is for the Eagles that it looks like maybe Dak won't play next week. I think I saw CD
he had a hamstring thing that they said. Apparently, it's like they're pretty concerned about it. We'll see.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, this team always struggles without AJ. I almost think it doesn't matter who you play, especially in Dallas. But if AJ's out for, I mean, look, I don't even want to speculate, but, like, they're saying it's a knee injury. Like, so obviously that's probably the most concerning area of the body you could hear when you hear that there's an injury that downgrades him to out. So yeah, I mean, hopefully AJ's okay. Hopefully we have more information on that for the morning pod, and definitely obviously throughout the week it'll be something we monitor. But yeah, if they don't have AJ next week, now Jahan Dotson steps up, makes a big
what a catch. I don't know if you heard on the broadcast, but he had, I think it was like 35 yards total.
BLG tweeted this.
Yeah, and then 36 on that guy. Yeah. So, but what a play. I mean, hey, maybe it'll give him some confidence. Maybe Jalen some confidence go to him. And again, another thing with Jalen before we get out here with that in mind, it did feel like Jalen did a really good job spreading it around more and really taking what was there for him with the Saquon throws, with the Calcaterra throws. He's clearly comfortable with Calcaterra. they said on the broadcast, another good point. It was a pretty decent broadcast from that perspective, but they were like, usually when Goddard's out, they get zero production offensively from the tight end. And that's right. It's usually like Stoll or blocking or whatever. Calcaterra has been like a pretty nice little weapon for them.
Yep. And I definitely, well, look, we'll talk trade deadline, but like, I think a tight end's a potential target for them. I agree Calcaterra has been better, but like Stoll is just such a nothing in the passing game.
Totally.
But last thing I'll say before we get out of here, like major props to the defense. Like Nakobe making that play, Zach Bond coming away with a turnover, special teams getting a turnover. Like the offense didn't win this game for them.
That was great.
The offense didn't win this game for them. The other two parts of the ball did. Not that the offense was bad, but they won this game because the defense basically gave them nothing for the entire game. And special teams early on, because remember the Eagles punted on their first possession, but the special teams gives them a short field. They get in the end zone. So
and again, one of the touchdowns the defense didn't give up. It was a defensive touchdown for the Jaguars too. So I'm with you. I'm with you. Other than like kind of just some lapses late, I thought for the most part the defense played a really nice game.
The Eagles are not going to play as well as they did every week the last two. Like those Giants and Bengals like wins, like it's not going to be like that. The 2017 team barely beat Arizona, if I remember correctly. They barely beat the Colts. Like there's going to be games where they win a game and it's not super pretty. But at the end of the day, it's a fourth win in a row. Like if I would have told you coming out of the bye week, we said they needed 3 out of 4 of these.
No, I'm with you.
They took all 4.
I'm with you.
First of all, I would have never believed it. But the fact that they did it, I guess I'll get yelled at by people, but like I just can't leave this game I feel way more positive than I do like concerned. So I don't know.
I do too. Again, I absolutely do too. I'm just not like over the top, but I'm definitely like I said at the beginning, I'll say it again. They're 6-2. That was a big win. They're 6-2.
Which is crazy. Think big picture. Beginning of the year, we said like the start is so important. They're 6-2. Like,
it's such a good point. Yeah, and look, big. Like the Dallas thing, maybe they catch a break. Dallas looks like they're falling apart anyway, 3-10.
Yeah.
But the quick, turnaround to Thursday against a Washington team that won again today and has a better record than the Eagles. They're 7-2. That's a big one. Like so there's a big week and a half coming up. All right, you got to go. We'll be back later in the week to talk trade deadline, all that's going on. And look, 6-2. Eliot's right. Ultimately, they won the game, and that is the most important thing. But I'm sure there'll be a lot more to react to this week. And check out the Daily Pod for updates on AJ and everything else. All right, until then, he's Eliot James.